I'm Monica Zanetti and I am a writer and an actress. Drama school was what I always, thought was going to do. And I think in my last year of drama school, I started writing a short film, mainly just as a vehicle to act, really. And I really kind of loved it, loved doing it. And then kind of once I finished that script, I think I had such a sense of accomplishment that I just kind of kept writing. And then I remember seeing applications for Sydney Fringe Festival, again, somewhere in my last year of drama school, and how they were looking for new work. And I just thought, I'm going to make a play for Sydney Fringe Festival. And then I kind of did that. And then after that, it just kind of went from there. I was very addicted. The characters of Caitlin and Leah that are in Skin Deep, I had them in my head for a while. I could really distinctly see the scene where they met by both picking up the same CD at a CD store. And they just stayed with me. I didn't know where they were going to go. I didn't know what was going to do, but I knew that it was these two very different people. And then I was able to develop Leah's character a lot after witnessing a lot of bravery within the melanoma community, like young people dealing with a really serious terminal illness, which kind of would seem to come out of nowhere, something as innocent as a mole, and that was actually much more sinister and much more severe. And I found that that kind of fascinating, being forced to deal with that so quickly and so suddenly, really fascinating. So that helped me really build her character. And then Caitlin, I think I just got to know because she needed to be the polar opposite of Leah, basically, and witnessing things that were going on in my life and people in my life and times of my life, and how different people deal with situations. And then once I kind of knew them well enough, they both just met, and I was like, oh my God, that's their story. I literally woke up one day and just knew exactly where it was going to go. And I just sat down and I just wrote it really quickly. I think particularly after my own experience with melanoma, I knew that there wasn't a lot of information out there, particularly for young people. I know it was my own personal ignorance that I didn't know a lot, but it is Australia's national cancer, and there's just not a lot out there. I had never seen it represented in film or television, for sure. That's, I knew that. And so that became a real driving factor to kind of get this story out there and get people to see it. And God, I guess just when you're so in a story and when you're so connected to something and it's so important to you, I think that overrules all other important factors, like your own personal drive to get it out there, was the most important thing and the strongest driving factor. I would love to say that I write every day. I don't. When I need to do because I never went and studied writing, it took me a while to realize certain things that I was doing, like outlining. I was always like, I don't outline. And then when I looked at what outlining was, I was like, oh yes, I do. I just didn't know what it was. It always starts with a nugget of an idea. I always write things down when I think of them. So as soon as I have an idea, even if I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, even if I don't think it could be anything possible, I always write it down. Because if it sparks something in me, then, it could spark something in someone else. I'm a big believer that you can only really write a story that you would want to read. As soon as you start writing for other people, you'll lose it, I believe. So my process usually starts with the spark of the idea, and then I plot out each, I outline, so what would happen at the beginning, what would happen in the middle, and what would happen at the end. And until I'm at a point where I could sit down and tell someone the whole story from start to finish, and then this would happen, then this would happen, then this would happen, I won't even attempt to start scripting. I think scripting is the very last part of the puzzle. And that way, when it is time to script and when it is time to put it into that form, I can just go for, a week, 2 weeks straight until it's all out. So that's usually my process. With Skin Deep, it was very similar. Like I said, I had these characters in my head and they just stayed with me until I knew where they were going to go. And then the second I knew where they were going to go, I just sat down and I just wrote it. I think I wrote the whole first draft in about 4 weeks. So, because I knew it. And so, I think anytime I've ever tried to just start scripting something from the beginning and be like, I've got this great first scene, I'm going to sit down and script out the first scene, I usually hit a dead end pretty quickly. So, lots of thinking and lots of talking about it, I think, it's really important, obviously, to see everyone represented in film and different kinds of people and women playing different roles and women being able to play, being able to play wives. I mean, there's also a lot of people that talk about the fact that, women are always in films as love interests or, so that makes them not strong characters and all this kind of stuff, where I personally don't believe that, loving someone makes you a weak character. I think that makes you a really strong character, personally. And I think it's okay that there are, women in film playing mothers and women in film playing characters that aren't exactly likeable. You need to have all these things. Having said that, there needs to be a lot more of them. And, it needs to happen now. The fact that it's not happening, or the fact that we think that that's something that we can just let happen or just accept how it is, I don't believe in at all. I know our executive producer in particular was very touched. He had a very close connection with the idea of the story about cancer, and that definitely was what drew a lot of people in. I think the fact that the way that this young person in particular was dealing with cancer was not necessarily a typical story or a typical character. I think that also drew in a lot of people as well. So, I mean, it's hard for me to say, and it's hard for me to say it objectively, obviously, as the writer. It's hard for me to be like, oh, it was the script, they loved the script. But I do like to think that that's why they became involved and became so passionately invested in it, was the subject matter and the story and the characters, because, definitely wasn't the money, so there's that. After our first meeting, me and Johnny knew pretty straight away that we were on the same page. The types of movies we were able to list that we felt it would be similar were the same. We just knew where it was going, and I've always had a lot of faith in Johnny. He had so much respect for the script and so much respect for me as the writer. Definitely in pre-production, he wasn't over my shoulder at all. He had a lot of faith in me, which was lovely, and we had a really nice relationship. I think, it must be intimidating for him whether you're on set and you're filming and the writer is there. And there were certainly things that I did fight for on set as, the writer, which I'm sure must be frustrating when I'm like, I can tell you why that won't work from the writer's perspective and from this character's perspective, because I've spent so long with them. But all in all, it was a really, egos were all left to the side, and, no one was ever fighting for anything that they didn't strongly believe in. And at the end of the day, it always came back to what's the best idea for the script, and what's the best idea for the story, and what's the best idea for the film. And yeah, it was a really, really nice process. I was very lucky with Johnny. I did know always that I would be in the film. Like I said, I kind of started writing as a way to give myself a job. So it was so much hard work. I have so much respect for people that can write a film and then not act in it, like actors who also who can write a film and then give it over to other actors. But I think because the work, obviously the work is rare and the work is hard. It's anyone that's that selfless, I think, is pretty amazing. But yeah, I did always know I was going to play that character. I didn't let myself think about that while I was writing it, because again, I would start to censor it and be like, oh God, that would be terrifying to film. And I didn't want any of that to be interfering with it, so I totally switched off any actor brain while I was writing it. And then when the time came for production, when it was going to start, and all the producers were involved, they were good enough to me to be like, okay, just an actor now. It's all we want you to focus on so that you can really get this character to a good place. So yeah, it was two totally different experiences. I think having to just totally give it over to Johnny, like having to trust Johnny with the script and having to be like, okay, it's yours now. So letting go of that, first of all, was a big step. Once Zara was cast and Zara was involved and we were able to just spend a lot of time together, that really helped. That really helped my character. That really helped my acting process. Being able to focus on her and knowing that, everything that most of my motivations and most of what I was going to be going through and doing was going to be because of Zara and Zara's character's presence. So I had a lot of trust in her as well. so yeah, it seemed to go quite smoothly for me, I think. But I was a bit lucky in the way that I had been with this character for so long that it kind of felt a little bit like cheating because I knew her so well. We didn't improv a whole lot. We never really panicked if a line was off, slightly, as long as the intention was there. But other than that, we were pretty good with the script. It evolved a lot, mainly to do with locations and filming on King Street in Newtown. There was a lot of unpredictable stuff. I think we had a scene that was originally filmed at a train station, which just became clear location-wise and budget-wise that it just wasn't going to happen. So we changed it to the street, that it would happen on the road with a car instead of with a train. And so that was where most our changes kind of came from. It evolved a lot for me having the other actors there and seeing them and having them to work off and watching them bring the characters to life that I had spent so long with on paper. All of a sudden what I thought it was going to look like, it obviously looked completely different because here they were, like these living, breathing people and bringing their own individual things to it. So in that way it evolved for me. I think also because we didn't have a lot of time and a huge budget that we had to be, so I guess there wasn't a lot of extra time to improvise or, let's just try this one for fun. There was kind of not much of that. It was kind of like, okay, we've got it, move on, quick, we've got to go. We had a lot of conversations before we started filming. He did give us quite a lot of breathing space. Like a lot of the scenes where it was just, the film is a lot of conversations between my character and Zara's character. And between takes, if it wasn't quite going the way that he thought it could go, he would just kind of come and sit with us between and just be like, just remember where she's just come from. Just remember who this person is. Just remember what she's lost. But other than that, he did give us a huge breathing space. The good thing was with Johnny is that he did know exactly what he wanted it to look like. He had a vision. He knew, like, every scene that we were doing, he knew what he wanted to get out of that scene. He knew what he wanted the audience to feel from that scene. So he would always, we would just do it. He's like, let's just run through it. Okay, cool. Think a bit more about this. Think a bit more about that. And then he's like, okay, let's just go for one. He was very big on being like, let's just go for one. I think there's a lot of that thing of knowing that, you can get the magic in the first shot if you're lucky. So we did a lot of that. And yeah, just his basic, Johnny's a really gentle guy. He's not, you would never be terrified of him. He's really gentle and he's really, sensitive and understanding. And, when a scene affected him, he would tell us, he would come out and be like, that affected me. If we were stressing out about, oh my God, what if I'm not there? I know how important this scene is and I don't feel emotionally there. He was always just like, don't worry, you've got it. You get it. We've got this. Don't worry, we're going to keep going. I think there was one day in particular where I was doing the scene with my dad, which is a very important scene in the film, not my actual dad, the actor who plays my dad. And I was, and I was really stressed about it. I was having a really anxious morning with it. And he basically just said to me, and he's like, we've got the camera set up and we're just going to keep going until we get this scene. So don't worry, like, we're going to get it. So just keep going. If you need another take, we'll do another take. And yeah, so that was really great. With the actual shoot, we were unbelievably blessed and lucky. Something about it was very ordained for an outdoor shoot in the middle of inner West Sydney. We did not have any rain. I think one night we had slight rain, but that was it. We never got shut down. We never got, we never turned up one day and where we were meant to be shooting was gone. So in that way, we were really lucky, and that hasn't been lost on me at all. I think the hardest stuff was kind of, I guess, the stuff that happens after you shot, like post-production and getting it through post-production. Post-production is such a marathon that you don't really think about. For some reason, you kind of think it's going to be, you can all relax now. It's just in post. The editor will just put it together, and then we'll put on some music, and then it'll be done. And it obviously is not like that. It's nothing like that. And I think keeping the people that have been a part of it from the beginning, keeping their love alive and their momentum alive for this huge hurdle, always reminding yourselves why you're there in the process, why you've come this far, why you believe in it. That can be hard at times because it's a long slog. And then I think the other hard part, other than getting funding, which is always going to be a challenge and, is really boring, so I don't want to talk about that. But I guess, because it's such a fight to get it done, it's such a fight to get it finished, that you forget about the fact that it's actually going to be out there and people are going to be judging it. And that's really hard. I think I personally forgot about that. I forgot about the fact that people were actually going to see it. And even though that, which is ridiculous because that's the goal, but that they would have an opinion and that, not everyone's going to like everything, obviously. You are going to face rejection, you are going to face criticism, you are going to face people that you feel don't understand what you were trying to say. And I think learning how to just take that, as unpersonally, as objectively as you can, and not take it all to heart in a way that stops you from ever wanting to write anything ever again. But at the same time, not building such a thick skin that you can't access all that sensitive stuff that you need to be able to create in the first place. I think that's a really tough balance, and anyone that has mastered that skill, I think, is just a genius. I think getting into Austin Film Festival and having our world premiere at Austin Film Festival, that was incredible. That was such a wonderful experience, and we were all there. And the award, we won an award too. So that's probably the award at Austin Film Festival, which was really great. They kind of invented an award for us because there was the winner of the narrative feature, and then once they announced that, they then kind of came back up on stage and said, we don't normally do this, but there was another film that we need to honour, and it was us, and it was just it felt so special. We squealed and probably screamed more than the people that won because we couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe we were there, and then couldn't believe we kind of got honoured in front of all our peers. So that was really amazing. That was a great experience. You need a really good team of people around you to be able to do it. Making a film is hard, really hard. That I guess particularly when you are, pushing something uphill that you believe in so much, there's going to be a lot of times where you feel like, you could probably let go of it now and be ready to, that other people are going to take it from there. But, usually it's not the case. When the core people, have been the ones fighting to get it done for so long, you're going to be the ones fighting to keep it going right to the end. So I guess, be prepared to be involved for years of your life, and also that it's amazing and there's no other experience like it. The personal thrill and justification and of putting something out into the world that you've done and you've made is just the greatest feeling. And I wish everyone could experience how good that feels. I think a lot of people in the Australian industry like to blame the Australian industry for the fact that there's no work and there's no films, and why aren't Australians going to see Australian films? It's the industry's fault. They're not marketing right, they're not doing anything. No one wants to make anything, no one's funding anything good, and there's kind of so many excuses of why you can't do anything. But I feel it's our responsibility as artists, and particularly in this industry, to take some responsibility and some control of that, and and tell our stories and put them out there. There's so many ways to do it these days. You can make it as a film, you can shoot on a digital camera, you can shoot on your mobile phone and put it online. It's all about making the content and putting the content out there, and we just have to be so proactive and and fight and raise money ourselves and fundraise and crowdfund and and then when you've tried all that and you still can't get it made, then then you can give up and blame the industry. But I think, until then, I think you've just got to go into it really proactive and really determined. I think that's what you need to survive. Well, I never went to film school, so I'm probably not the best person to talk about that. A lot of our crew did, and they were excellent. I think it definitely helps, and I would never discredit it, but No, I think, people are teaching themselves new skills every day. I think if you want to learn, you'll learn. No matter if you're determined, then, you will learn no matter who teaches you, whether it's yourself or a school or a YouTube video. There are definitely ways. So yeah, no, I don't think it's necessary. I just finished a television series that I wrote, and its pilot is being shot this week, actually, through a company called Heckler TV, which hopefully will then get picked up, called Young Labour, which is about the youth division of the Labour Party, which is a comedy, very, very different. And I run a film festival, which is happening in February, Project Short Film Festival. Well, it started out of me having a short film that I had made, and it basically trying to apply for festivals, and festival being aware that there weren't really many festivals in Australia to begin with, and that, it was screening at festivals overseas, but, it's very hard to get your mum to a festival overseas. And I just kind of became very aware of the fact that there weren't many festivals in Australia. There's kind of, the core ones, and a couple of them you can only make films for that festival, and then that's it. You can't go anywhere after that. So I definitely wanted to create another platform. It's another way of kind of keeping the industry alive and, I guess not feeling like we're part of something that is, that you might get a sense of is doomed. Like there seems to be all this, the industry is doomed and we have less money and Screen Australia's got its funding cut. I think it's nice to be able to show that, there are still platforms being created. And so that's where the idea came from. And then the new Enmore projects opened in Marrickville, which is kind of this great creative space, and it had this huge screen on the wall, and I went there and I kind of was like, I can use that screen. I know exactly what to do with that screen, and luckily they were on the same page. That's, they were like, yes, we want to do something like this. So we had our first year this year in February, and it was so awesome. We got so many, just inundated with entries. Like I was blown away by how many entries we had, and, it was really hard to narrow it down to these 10 finalists of really high quality, incredible Australian films, some which had not been seen because they hadn't, had an acceptance. And, it's so competitive. Obviously not every festival can take every film. And so it was nice to be a new place, and, it was a big success, and we got a huge crowd there. And, luckily the council came on board this year and said, that's great. We think, think it's great what you're trying to do. And so we got some funding to come back for 2015, which is very exciting. I think that's launching in the next week, and great sponsorship from Digital Logic and VA Hire and Rode Microphones, who are just throwing in prizes. All the prizes are based around giving the filmmakers something to then help them make their next project. So there's lots of equipment hire, and Rode Microphones giving these wonderful mics that you plug into your iPhone, which turns your iPhone into a Zoom. Just really, really useful things. My experience now with shorts is that it can be harder to get people to work on shorts. That's what I've found. It's easier, which kind of sounds kind of hilarious because it is a shorter amount of time and a shorter commitment. And so you'd think when things like a small budget are involved that making a short would be more ideal. Making a feature, you do get more benefits out of it, even if it's not financial benefits as far as, career rising, career next step and all that kind of stuff. Having a feature under your belt is very different than having a short under your belt. I've tried to make 3 shorts in the last year that's just been, and it was definitely, and they all had different struggles for different reasons, but with a couple of them in particular, it was being able to put together, the crew and, kind of commit to a time frame with a short, because it's, what you can get out of it seems much less than what you can get out of it for a feature, I guess, as far as, money in return goes. Obviously shorts are wonderful for festivals and they're great to show people what you can do. And I think there's so many amazing shorts out there. Something like Miracle Fish is such a good example of a short, that can just make you feel everything that a feature probably could. I've probably outlined about 3 other features, so getting one of them off the ground is definitely part of the plan. Well, one of them I actually wrote, which is a finished script I wrote before Skin Deep, so that was the first feature that I wrote. Yeah, I think once I knew that I could do it, once I had finished a full script and been like, I can do this, there was nothing really to stop me from keep going. So once I had other, and again, it starts with the idea, it starts with the story, and then, pardon me, knowing exactly where those stories were going to go, and I guess knowing yourself well enough to be like, if I don't write this down right now, I'm never going to write this down. So not letting myself off the hook in that way. And yeah, and I think too, once you know that, writing a feature's hard, I probably would never be able to do it, isn't an excuse for you anymore, then you've really got no choice. There's always going to be hundreds of reasons why not to do it, so just do it. Use people, don't use people, but the people that you have around you that have skills. We're all colleagues and we all kind of want the same thing at the end of the day, and it's all about collaborating. I think collaborating is very important, and having a strong team. Crowdfund. I think crowdfunding's great. I think there's a lot of controversy around it, but I think it's a really good platform, and there are people out there that genuinely want to help, so I think let them help. And yeah, don't let fear be the thing that stops you.